Hi.
Hey, Ashley, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Oh, no.
That's not good. I hope you guys can hear me. Give us just a second while she checks her sound real quick. Did you guys know that
I can't hear anything.
National Curl Day, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Okay, so today is National Curl Day. Although I don't have curls, but Ashley does. So as soon as she gets it fixed, she's going to tell us all about her problems. My hair is naturally wavy, so I do a lot of straightening. I don't know if anybody out there is out there with the same struggles that I have. Like, it's so bad that sometimes I feel like I can't walk out of my house because my hair looks so bad just because of the curls. So I spend every single day, almost every single day, straightening my hair. I don't understand why I do that, because I think it's like a body image issue and it has to do with my body dysmorphia. So I just straighten it and deal with it that way. So I don't know. National Curl Day. If you have curly hair and you are here in the comments, please, please, please let me know what you do to fix those messy curls. Ashley, can you hear me? Awesome. Tell us about your struggles.
Straightening them, and I just got really tired of when it would rain, my hair would get really frizzy and just being self-conscious. And so years later, I just learned to embrace the curls and I learned how to style them, and now I love them.
That's awesome. We were just talking about how much I struggle with my curls too, and I end up straightening them all the time because my curls look nowhere near like yours too.
Yeah, mine has taken like 5 years of like I stopped straightening them and started cutting out the damaged stuff, and eventually, you know, they started getting really healthy and really spirally. So what was once my biggest insecurity has become my statement piece.
One of your biggest, it's one of mine too, because when I walk outside of my house and I have my curls and I think they look good, and then I look at pictures and stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so messy. That's horrible. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that again. Let me just straighten it. And then I'll go like a couple months of straightening. So it's crazy.
I will, if
so
I have
what hair products do you use that help the most?
Yeah, I have, the key is going sulfate free. So I have a sulfate free shampoo and conditioner that I use. And then I have a leave-in conditioner that I use while I'm in the shower. But the biggest thing is while my hair is sopping wet in the shower, I section it off and I twirl it like this into twists.
Oh.
And then I let it dry in like a towel in the twists. And so it dries all ringlety. And then I have a curl cream.
That's where I am struggling the most, is like right after the shower, because I go straight to, I put it up in my special little towel that I bought for curly hair, and then I turn around and I blow dry it. Yeah. I never let it air dry.
Yeah, I don't blow dry unless I have to. Like if I'm gonna be somewhere that my hair has to be dry. So I did a photo shoot that was like 11:30 a.m. on like a Wednesday. So I'm like, okay, my hair has to be dry for this. So I had to blow dry it, and then I diffuse it and I just very carefully hold it like this. And then I take the next section and I hold it like that. So I really just try to, I tell it what to do with like the twists, but then I kind of just let it dry and do its own thing. So
I wish I wish I had time to do that too, because that takes so much time out of your day, especially when you are doing as much as you're doing with your hair. So how long does it take you, Ashley, to fix your curly hair? To,
It,
let's say, from waking up in the morning until you look the way you do right now, how long does it take you to do that?
well, if we count the air drying time, like 4 hours.
Oh,
But if you count the styling time, it's like 10 minutes, if that. Because in the shower, twisting it like that takes like less than 5 minutes. And then I put it up in the towel. I work from home. So then I just, I take the kids to school and then I come home and I just pull the thing out and it all kind of falls in place. And I just have to look where it's parted weird. And I have to kind of like move it over and put some cream in it. And then I'm done and I just leave it. So, but it is always wet for the first half of the day. So,
all right, awesome. I'm so glad you shared with us how we can fix our straight hair into curly hair, especially if we have those chances. Welcome, guys, to Tangled Heartstrings.
Far from the crowded room, you played my heartstrings. What could I do? Cold, caught by the light in you, the prospect of something new, too good to be true. We were so young and free, a beautiful symphony, no time to deceive. Now all the love has gone, we traded our innocence, tried to stay strong.
One that sleeps? Our studies show you likely are. Designed for side sleepers straight out of the box, the Pillow Fight Haymaker Loft can be adjusted for back or stomach sleepers in mere seconds. Look at your current pillow. Face it, it's nasty. Our competition uses these cheap blobs of foam that just aren't comfortable or supportive. Pillow Fight's proprietary noodle-shaped foam blend rebound quickly for maximum cool, comfort, and support. Oh yeah. Our naturally cooling cover will have you dreaming in no time. Handmade in the USA. Pillow Fight. Invest in your rest.
All right, guys. So we're going to continue with our Reddit reads. And this week, it's going to be a hot subject. Something that nobody really likes to touch on, but we feel, Ashley and I both feel, that this is something that truly needs to be talked about. So our first Reddit is going to start off. My girlfriend, 24 female, and myself, 24 male, are having issues with differences in politics. Hi, everyone. For context, my girlfriend, 24 female, and myself, 24 male, have been going out for almost 4 years this April. We both have very different political opinions. I can lean more to the conservative side, and she is heavy on the Democratic side. Well, safe to say this past election has driven a wedge in our relationship that I never thought possible. She does not agree with my political stance, which is perfectly fine. I support her in whatever she deems her position in politics is, but she does not give me the same support. Yes, I voted for Trump this election because I felt that more of his policies aligned with what I believed in. Granted, not everything he has done, said, I have agreed with, and I have made that point countless times. Long story short, every time politics gets mentioned, she gets extremely upset and usually hyperventilates, has a panic attack. The other night, she mentioned that every time she hears something Trump has signed or said, she gets mad at me personally. And came out and said that she doesn't think it's fair for me that she does it, and that she doesn't know if she can handle being in a relationship with someone that voted for Trump. Before the election, when Biden and Camilla were both in office, or were in office, we had no issues in our relationship other than the normal couple arguments here and there. I obviously do not want to break up over politics. I find it childish that it would have that large of an impact between two people. The other night over FaceTime, I recommended that she should seek a therapist to help her formulate her thoughts and keep clarity on why it affects her so much, which she thought would be a good idea. I am just unsure that it is going to help, since I feel like I've exhausted every other idea in the situation. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I have extremely strong opinions on this. I don't think that politics should play too much in our relationship, because when we get with someone and we are with this person and we decide to be with this person, we're with this person because we have chosen that we like this person, we love this person, we want to spend time with this person, we have fun with this person. So why is it that, and even though we love this person and we know that we want to be with this person, sometimes our morals get in the way. Our morals never have to truly align, because then how are we going to make that person or try to teach that person other aspects of life? Ashley, what is your stance on this one, truly? I think that she's having some sound issues, so we're going to go ahead and continue discussing this. I'm going to hit on a few of these comments, because the comments are really, really heading towards the same reaction that the girlfriend's having. And I have an issue with this because I don't think that it should be an issue. So I come from a background that I was extremely Republican years and years ago. This was probably 10, 15 years ago. And I let everyone know that I was a Republican. And I decided right before, I can't even remember, it was a few years ago, that I no longer align with either party because there's so much hate that both parties put out into this world that I cannot morally allow myself to be part of any party. I mean, it's really, really, really hard to be in this society today and choose a side. So when you're looking at, I mean, honestly, if you're looking at how you're going to take your relationship, and if you're going to allow politics, you're going to miss out. If you're choosing politics over love, you're going to miss out on some amazing people in your life. And it's not only with love, it is totally with every aspect of your life. You choose because, let's say you're Democratic and you don't like Republicans. Okay. You don't have to like their views. But just because a person agrees with one or two of their views and they vote Republican doesn't mean that they're fully for every single thing that Republican president is putting out there. Some people vote because there are certain matters that truly matter to them. Like, I don't know which one I want to use because I'm not political and I don't follow this, so it's really hard for me. I mean, honestly, it's truly, truly hard for that. I'm going to read a few of these comments. It says, this is from Ellie Woods. This isn't just politics. Trump is an extremely polarizing figure, unlike any other. I don't think this relationship is salvageable. Won't repeat all the reasons why that are already posted. If there was a more normal, sensible Republican leader, I think there could be a way past political differences, but with this munchkin, nope. It's one person for an entire party. So why are we taking this one person for an entire party and making it such a big deal? It's not just his policies. It's not just the last administration's policies that are the issue. The issue here is how much hate both parties have for each other. It's ridiculous. It's bringing more and more divide into this world. And we truly need to look at a person and not what they're voting for.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Those are personal issues. What you're voting for is what you feel in your heart. Just because you don't feel that in your heart doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't feel it. And it's okay that they have different feelings and different views, because if we were all together and we had the same views and the same outlook on life, we'd all be robots. I mean, honestly. Ashley, you want to give me your opinion on this?
Yeah. So something you said earlier, I really agree with, which is you said something about like partners kind of challenging one another or learning from one another. And I totally agree with that. I think that we should be open to hearing, what other people think, especially people with different views than us. It's just a great way to learn and to grow. But I also have specific topics that are really important to me and dear to my heart that I would not be able to date someone who did not align with those things. Because yes, it is a personal thing, but it's also like how they treat the people that are around me, because what they believe politically or what they vote for politically is fueled by their worldview and how they feel about this topic and these people in this topic. So it could be abortion or gay marriage or immigration or how people are taxed or whatever. Like there's all these different topics, but there are people close to me that I would need to know that whoever I'm dating not only is respectful to them, but it's important to me that they actually believe that those people are as valuable and deserve the same respect. And they're not just being polite and they're not just keeping their opinions buttoned up. So I do think that there can be people who are of, opposing parties that date and can make it work. But I think that there are some key issues that some people are not able to get past. And in this Reddit, if this girl is like hyperventilating mad, she is a raging liberal and she's not going to be able to work it out with this guy if she's that passionate about what's going on, or she has that much hatred toward either the party or the MAGA movement or Trump or whatever. So I think she's right in like asking that question of, or I guess making the observation of, I don't think this is fair to you, boyfriend, that I feel this way about you because I'm just so upset by this. So I feel like there are people who can definitely make it work, but it doesn't sound like she's one of those people.
I don't think she's one of those people either. And this is my issue that I have with it. She has decided that she loves this person, that they've been together for 4 whole years. Like 4 whole years. They have made a life together. They live together. They've decided that they love each other. I'm sure a proposal was in the future until this issue came up. I mean, they say he seems like, and everything that he says and how he words things, he truly loves this girl. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't expect my spouse, I don't expect my friends, I don't expect people that I meet on the street to change their views just because of me. I don't expect anybody in this world to change how they act, how they feel, and who they vote for, just because I have words that come out of my mouth. Do you know what
Agreed.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for them to build all of this time together and to decide, and I'll be completely honest with you, I have been with my husband in May on the 25th, will be 24 years that we've been married. We've been together for 26 years. We were discussing some of these Reddits the other night, and I looked at him and I truly thought about it. I have never, in all the time that we've been together and all the times that we've voted, I've never once asked him, who'd you vote for? I've never once said, what policies do you agree with? Yes, we discuss politics and we discuss the issues that are happening in the world, and we have amazing communication and can communicate these things. But never once have I asked him, who are you voting for this election? What policies are important to you? Because his policies are not going to be the same as mine. And he's entitled to his own opinion and what he wants to do in life. So why, even if he was completely opposed to me, and completely opposed to any of the policies that I agreed with, and the rest of our life was amazing, politics wouldn't play a part in it. Not one bit. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know where to go from there, because that's my true opinion. Politics should never play a part in the people that are around you, because you're losing so many opportunities for some really amazing people to be in your life. I mean, I do have a big heart, and I look at everybody as, you're a good person until you prove me wrong. And just because I don't agree with what you agree with, I'm not going to treat you any differently.
Yeah. I think that the issue isn't that he's treating her differently. It's that she has a heart for these other groups of people that he doesn't share that heart. And so I imagine
he didn't say that. and I'm not gonna say that that's what the issue is, because he didn't say that that he doesn't agree. He said he supports all of the things that, you know, she agrees with. So
Well,
I don't want to.
he said he supports her having her political views,
Right.
but and she doesn't support him having his political
Right.
views.
So there's the issue right there. So it's not that he doesn't have the same feelings towards the same groups that she does. It's that
I
he's
read it differently.
not. And
I
he said he only agrees with
interpret.
some policies, so I'm not going to say that he doesn't agree with the LGBTQ plus community, or he doesn't agree with any of the other big major issues, because he may still be agreeing with those, and he didn't voice that. He may still be agreeing with those policies, but there are other policies that the other party has put out that he agrees with more, so he's going to vote for that person. It's not that he's dismissing those policies, because not in this Reddit anywhere did I see that he would dismiss anything that she agrees with. There was just some policies there that he agreed with more than the other policies.
I interpreted that line differently when he said that I support her, but she doesn't support me. I interpreted that as I listen, I try to understand, you know, I don't make her feel bad. Like that was what I wasn't reading that or hearing that as like I agree with her on these issues. It sounded to me like they disagree. But that he's disagreeing respectfully and she is not. She's getting super upset. But either way, like maybe your take is right, and maybe
Right.
he is saying like, you know, we agree on these things, but her interpretation would be, okay, well, you agree on these three things, but these other things are more important. So you've decided that these things don't matter, so you voted against these things. So that's like her interpretation.
Right, but those things are more important to her, not him.
Right.
So,
but she doesn't want to be with someone who doesn't share the same passion for those topics. And the reason I can relate to her is that I am her. I've never broken up with somebody after 4 years over this.
Right.
But I have started seeing people and found out we're misaligned in ways that are really important to me, and I have broken things off.
But I don't
it's
think
not
it's
because
just and in any case, I don't think it's truly just politics. If there's an issue with a relationship, I don't think that final straw is politics. I think there was a building issue to begin with, and this election has allowed people to say, okay, well, this, and this has gotten on my nerves. So now I'm going to focus it so much on politics as the issue. And this is why I can't be with you anymore. I truly don't think, and I'm even reading into this Reddit here, he seems like he loves her, but there was something with him before that it is the real issue here is she's so far into her political views that she doesn't see any other aspect of the world. And when you get so far into those political views and you're not looking at this side and this side and this side and this side, and you're just seeing that tunnel vision, it's going to create more issues.
Well, and I agree. And it's, for me, it's, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Your video's behind, so it looks like you're trying to talk. For me, it's a lot of the issues are not just political. A lot of the issues are very deep and very personal. And so I want to share the next Reddit because this is a great example of exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody who, this isn't a political issue of, oh, I don't like how much we're spending on XYZ. This is like a real life, true thing. And this is why I think people like her and people like me say not only do I not want to choose to be with somebody like that, I get the ick. If I find out somebody voted against things that are important to me, it immediately gives me the ick. I don't have to say, oh, well, I really like them, but I can't be with, I'm just like, ugh, no.
That's
So
really
here's
sad.
a really good
I mean,
example.
honestly, that's really sad because you're going to miss out on the opportunity to meet some really amazing people just because they don't agree with you.
Oh, I meet tons of people.
No, I get that, but you're going to miss out on some amazing people just because you just get the ick because somebody doesn't agree with the same policies that you do.
Well, just because I don't date them doesn't mean that I don't get to know them and
No,
have them
see,
in
I
my
didn't know
circle.
that you were talking about dating. I thought you were talking about life in general.
Oh, no,
You
I'm
said
sorry.
that
I'm talking about
like you were
a
talking
romantic
about life
partner.
in general.
I have tons of people in my circle that disagree with me. A couple of my closest friends, parents. But let me go ahead and share this next example. The header is liberals with conservative parents and vice versa. Do you get along? My dad is going to vote for Trump. He knows I'm trans and he has seen all the anti-trans ads, but that does not dissuade him. I don't really feel like having a relationship with my dad anymore, not because we disagree on politics, but we disagree on whether people like me belong in society. Any other liberals have conservative parents and vice versa. How is the relationship with your family? Do you guys get along? And then there's all kinds of comments in there. And one comment that stood out to me was, kind of the idea of trying to understand why somebody has the beliefs that they have, or why they prioritize things that they prioritize. And a lot of times it's based on misinformation because we're in a time that the news isn't really being delivered to you. A
No.
skewed version of news with a manipulated talking point is what's being delivered. So like, this is what happened here in the middle. This is how it's being spun by this side, and this is how it's being spun by this side. And you're being told you should care about this because blah, 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 blah. And so people aren't really getting a big picture of what's really happening. They're very easily getting brainwashed on either side because media bias. And so they don't really understand the other side because they're only hearing one side. And the more they hear one side, the angrier they get. The angrier they get, the more that they tune in, the more that they get brainwashed. And so it's like this never-ending cycle where nobody is looking at the big picture and trying to understand both sides. And people are just, being told what they're supposed to think. And so
right. And I don't think that she should try to change her dad's views either. Just because I really truly think that he loves her as who she is, but it's hard to accept it when you've known this person for somebody as so long. Now, I truly, if any of my kids, that ever happens with any of my children, I will be completely okay with it. But as a parent, I could see the dad's perspective.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna be back in just a few seconds, and we'll talk about some more stuff.
Are you someone that sleeps? Our studies show you likely are. Designed for side sleepers straight out of the box, the Pillow Fight Haymaker Loft can be adjusted for back or stomach sleepers in mere seconds. Look at your current pillow. Face it, it's nasty. Our competition uses these cheap blobs of foam that just aren't comfortable or supportive. Pillow Fight's proprietary noodle-shaped foam blend rebounds quickly for maximum cool, comfort, and support. Oh yeah. Our naturally cooling cover will have you dreaming in no time. Handmade in the USA. Pillow Fight. Invest in your rest.
So we've all had that boss or maybe that superior that has held that over our heads, that has said, oh, because I am in such position, I'm able to tell you what to do. When you know what your job is, you know what you're supposed to do every day, and they come at you with something else that is not part of your job description. How do you stay out of the workplace politics? How do you move away from and keep that part out of your life without truly hurting your mental health? Is the drama truly worth the headache? Is it worth saying, well, just because you're over me doesn't mean you can tell me what to do? No, just do what they ask and move on. And move on through your day. It's not that big of a deal. Yes, it's an additional task for you. Yes, they are over you. Yes, you have to do those things because they are your superior. But what happens when somebody that is lower than you comes to you and tells you, hey, so-and-so said you have to do this, so now you have to do it. But that person is not above you. Who do you go to? Where do you go from there? What line of people do you move in to stop that problem? Ashley, why are we truly worried about what others' actions are doing in the workplace and how they affect our position? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we can look at like our own workload and compare it to others and be like, well, they're not doing as much as I'm doing. And why am I working so hard, even though their work doesn't really affect our work? It's just that comparison game. And I think that it's because we get overwhelmed and we get stressed out and we think we're alone. And we don't know that even though they only have 3 projects and you have 6 projects, like one of their projects has 3 projects within it, but you're not on the project. And so you don't know. So I think that we're worried about what other people are doing because we just maybe think that we have too much of a workload. Or another thing is sometimes there might be like jealousy, like, oh, that
Yes,
person
that.
got in charge. I have personally felt this. There's a presentation that I'm over at work that's every other month. And monthly, someone else on my team started making like the monthly update. And I was immediately like, why am I not making the monthly update? This is my presentation. You know, why was that given to her and not me? Do they think I can't handle it? And I went through this whole spiral thing and I talked to my boss and I asked her and she said, you have a larger workload. And so we gave it to her because she had the bandwidth and we figured that, you know, you could use her monthly updates towards your bi-monthly. And I was like, oh, but
Right.
I immediately took it to like that they think that I'm not good enough and I can't handle it. But they were trying to, you know, balance the load. So I think sometimes we just focus on what other people are doing instead of worrying about ourselves.
I agree with you. And just because you think your workload is overloaded, that doesn't mean Cindy and Stacy's workload isn't overloaded either. You know, because you don't know what's going on in their heads. You don't know like what's going on at home, what's going on, you know, in their daily lives. You don't even know what they had for lunch most of the time. So why are we worried about what they get more tasks? Okay, so maybe and like yours, maybe my workload is overloaded and my bosses are understanding this. So they're going to give the tasks that they know I can do to somebody else. So, you know, it's not that they're giving you too much. It's that they're trusting you more.
Yeah. And
so,
the presentation is much more important than the monthly update.
Right, exactly. So how do you stay away from the drama, Ashley? How do you stay away from all of that can affect your mental health?
So I just have a really good relationship with my immediate supervisor. And that is not on me, that's on her because she's just an amazing boss. And so in the example you were sharing earlier, like if somebody who wasn't my boss came to me with a task that they wanted me to do, I meet with my boss every week one-on-one, and I would come to her and say, hey, I was asked to do this task from this person or this department. Is this something that you want me to do? Or I could say, I was asked to do this, but I don't feel like I have the bandwidth, or I don't feel like I understand. And she would either say, nope, you shouldn't. And then she would intervene and say, nope, Ashley can't do this. Or she would, walk me through, I think you can do this, let me help you, and kind of help me get started. I sort of am like, if your boss gives you the task, you do it, whether it's in your job description or not. So if it came from my boss, I would be like, okay, tell me what to do. But that's because I have a good relationship with my boss who respects me. I've had other bosses before that I'm like, why should I have to do this? This is my job. So I think like the people who have really crappy bosses, I wish I had better advice, but I had a really crappy job, and I worked, I should say I had a really crappy boss, and I worked through it as long as I could. And I stayed at this place for 5 years, but I eventually had to leave because I'm like, my mental health is not worth the way that I'm being treated. And I don't get paid enough to put up with this. And so there are times that you have to either move departments if you have somebody that's not respectful to you, or report it to HR, or even leave the job. But I'm always like, give it time, try to have direct conversation, like share thoughts and feelings, and just let somebody know how you're feeling about things. If you feel like something's not within your job description, you can have that conversation with your boss. Like, hey, you asked me to do this task, but this is what my job description was when I signed up. I'm not really comfortable doing this, or I don't have the bandwidth to do this. And so if this is something you want me to do, like maybe my job description needs updated. Maybe there should be a raise. Maybe I'm not being compensated fairly if this is now part of my job. But I think it might come down to a hard conversation.
And it's important to know that you yourself control your life. You yourself control your destiny. And if you are in a job that is causing you so much mental health, find another job. Find another position that is going to help you be a better person. I live by, if you find something you love to do and you make it your job, you'll never have an unhappy day in your life. So if you're not loving your job, look at a different field. Yes, you went to school for it. You have this huge student debt for it. But is it truly worth your mental health? Is it truly worth your mental stability? Is it truly worth losing yourself to make $1? I mean, honestly, I would not sit in any position in my life that would cause me to lose the person that I found through my healing journey. So it's important to know that you control your destiny. If you're having trouble at work and politics are an issue at work, and you're having trouble with somebody lower than you causing problems, look for another job, maybe in the same field. Or if it's not the field if it's the field that's causing the issue, find it in a different field. Find something that you love doing, and you'll never work a day in your life. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about, we talked about work politics, but what about politics at the job? What about true politics? Big issue politics, as we call them, government. What about the election? Should we be talking about the election at our job? We know there are people there that are going to disagree with us. We know it is going to cause issues. We know there are people from both sides that we work with. So why, in your ever-loving mind, would you bring up that issue at work? Unless it directly affects your position, unless it directly affects your job, or it directly affects your boss, why are you bringing up true governmental politics in your job?
I can share an example. So this was actually, I was guilty of this. I was the one who did it accidentally. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. We were at an informal lunch. It was our executive vice president and his entire downline. So there were like probably 80 people there. And we didn't have assigned seats or anything. So I just sat with my whole team, and my team already knows me, and you know, there's not really anything that I had to hide from anybody. But we had one new person at the table who just, there weren't enough seats anywhere, and she was running around doing other stuff, ended up sitting at our table. And we were just talking about TikTok, and somebody asked me, what does your TikTok algorithm look like? And I said, oh, you know, it's recipes and comedians and, you know, political stuff, left leaning. And I said left leaning without giving it a thought, because my whole team, there's only 4 people, but they kind of know where I stand on like certain issues. And this girl's whole demeanor changed, and she got really quiet. And I was like, oh no, I have like, what's the word I'm looking for? I've like basically like caused a division now, because I said something super informal, just like talking about my TikTok algorithm, not even thinking about there's anyone at the table that this would bother. I work for a very progressive company, and they're very big into diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have all sorts of business resource groups focused on this. So everyone that I supervise, except for one person, and everyone on the team of my peers and my boss are all kind of that same mindset. So I like forgot that I didn't even think about the fact that there are people who work here who don't share that mindset. Right. And that's maybe not something to speak so openly about. And so that was the time for me where I'm like, oh, I should not have said that, because I think that I've just, you know, made this person feel uncomfortable by just sharing something informally. So I do think, like, you're right. It's not really workplace discussion, right? Even in a casual setting.
It's not workplace discussion, but the fact that you made somebody uncomfortable, you should be okay with that, because in life, no matter what we say, somebody is going to be uncomfortable with it, and we need to be okay with that, because not everybody is going to agree with us. So making people uncomfortable in life with the things that you say, you have to be okay with that too. Politics have no place in the workplace. That's my true, honest opinion. It's just going to create more division, more divide, and more problems. It's going to say somebody is, let's say your boss is Republican and you're Democratic. So your boss is going to say, okay, because you're a Democrat, I'm going to give you more tasks to do. And that's not okay either. So when you give out your political opinions and all of that in the workplace, you're also opening yourself up to ridicule. And some people are not okay with ridicule. So you have to think about that also. Are you going to be okay with somebody saying, okay, because you're Democratic, I can't talk to you, or, we can't work in the same office, or, your desk has to be moved because you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican and I'm not okay with that. Or I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican and I'm not okay with that. I mean, it could go from either side. I don't see the independents, and I don't see, the other parties. I don't see a big issue, because I don't think that they make it such a big part of their lives. Yes, we all have opinions. Yes, we all need to have those opinions. We all need to have, our own moral support in life. But we don't all have to agree, because if we all agreed, this world would be a very fucking boring place.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't be here right now having this discussion on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever we're on Twitch. We wouldn't be having this discussion if we all thought the same, and we were robots, and we all followed in line, and we all wore the same clothes. We wouldn't be able to have these discussions. So it's important to be okay when somebody says that they're not okay with your stance on it either.
Here's another question that goes off of that then. What do you do if this does come up and there is discussion at work and you disagree with what everyone's saying?
Walk away.
What's the response here?
You walk away. It is, And it's not being the bigger person, and it's not being the superior person because you're walking away. It is keeping your mental health in check, because just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean you have to have this heated debate about it either, and create your blood pressure to go up and make you feel uncomfortable, or make the other person uncomfortable. You don't have to make people uncomfortable in life just because you have different opinions. It's not something that needs to be discussed in the workplace. If politics are brought up anywhere that I work, I sit there and I listen. We have healthy discussions, or we don't talk about it. And my stance is I just don't talk about politics. My views, I'm not going to allow anybody's ability to speak to me and tell me about their views to affect me and my moral views. So by allowing them to sit here and make a huge discussion and make me uncomfortable and make me feel like I'm wrong for how I view is ridiculous. And I feel that both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, I feel that they both do that to each other. And it is absolutely fucking ridiculous to me to carry so much hate just because somebody has a different opinion than you.
Well, and then here's an example of when politics comes into the workplace because something is a political issue. So we have, where I work, like I said, it's a very progressive company, and we have our pronouns in our email signatures. And our company covers transition treatment under our insurance policy. And we have a couple individuals who identify as non-binary, and their pronouns in all of their email signature and their profile, everything says they, them, their. And so some people don't believe in that, right? They say, well, that's not real. I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to call him every time, regardless of what he wants to be called. This is now a political issue and that is being faced because we'll call him Tom, or I guess we need a more neutral name, Jamie. We'll say Jamie. Jamie doesn't want to be referred to as he, him. Jamie wants to be referred to as they, them. And Bob is saying, well, that's not real. I do that. And I don't believe in that. That goes against my beliefs. That goes against my religion. So I'm not going to say they, them. I'm going to say he, him.
Okay, then he doesn't need to say it. In my opinion, I 100%, I'm bi. I 100% support the LGBTQ plus community. 100% support it. But I also need to voice the other side too, because I can do that with my political views. I can do that. So you're saying that this person feels that they need to, they're trans, born.
Well, non-binary.
Okay, non-binary. Okay. Born female, I'm guessing, or born male. Born male. Okay. And then
there's examples of both, but yeah,
right.
In this example.
So either being born female or born male, they're non-binary. You have to look at how this other person was raised. What are their moral beliefs? And no, not every trans person needs this, but they need to understand that as big as their feelings are, and as much as they want that, the person that is not agreeing to that has the same feelings that are just as big, and have the same moral compass that is just as big on their end. So yes, I'm going to use those pronouns because I support it. But if there is somebody out here that is not willing to use those pronouns, it may be because it is so far against their moral or, their feelings that it's going to compromise how they feel about themselves when they say it. So we have to remember that. As being part And I don't like claiming it. I like supporting it. I don't like claiming being part of the LGBTQ plus community. Because I don't like labels. I don't label myself. I don't think that labels are good for society. I think that labels create more divide. So I choose not to label myself. I choose to be okay with whatever anybody calls me. I choose to be okay if somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, dude," I'm going to be okay with that. Or if they walk up to me and say, "Excuse me, sir," I'm going to be okay with that, even though I'm going to use labels right here because we're trying to identify those. I am a bi-married female. I am married to the opposite sex. So I don't expect anybody in this world to accept that. The only person that needs to accept that is me. I am the only person that needs to be okay with who I am. I don't need the world to be okay that I like girls. I don't need the world to be okay that I like girls and I'm married to a man. I don't need the world to care if I'm married to a man, like girls, and may have a girlfriend. That's my personal business. There is no reason why I need to. And I get it, being trans and dealing with the ridicule that they have to deal with, and dealing with trying to be accepted so much that they feel that they have to make sure that every single person uses those pronouns. But not every single person is going to be able to use those pronouns, because it's going to compromise who they are as a person. It's going to affect them so much that they're not going to be okay with themselves when they start doing that. So we have to look at both sides of the perspective. I'm not going to walk out in public and expect everybody to say, "Oh my gosh," and be okay with, "Oh, she's a bi female. She's married to a man, but she has a girlfriend on her arm." Do you know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous that I need everybody else in this world to be okay with it. And I don't. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, being bi is not something that people can tell by looking at you.
Yeah, they can.
People just look
I
at
make
you
it
and
obvious. I have the colors. I make it obvious. Everybody in my town knows. I don't.
I was like, I don't know what
something that I hide. A lot of bi females, it's not something that they hide. It's something that we're proud of. It's something that we show off to the world. But it's not something that I expect everybody to be okay with.
Yeah, I know a few bi women who are not out because they know that it would not be accepted. I do think, like, I hear what you're saying, and like, I understand, people have their beliefs, but the reality is there is a large population of people who won't use the pronouns, not because of a deep moral feeling. It's because they're mean and they want to be disrespectful, and it's just reality. I don't like it, but it's just reality.
Those people don't deserve time in your life. Then those people, those people's opinions shouldn't matter, and those people don't deserve time in your life. Those people are the ones that you put on the back burner and you walk away from and you never speak to again. Those are not places where you need to make yourself feel like you're a horrible person because of who you are. Those are definitely people that you walk away from. So even if it's in the workplace, don't talk to them. Move away from them. Walk away. If you have to avoid them, avoid them. Yes, it's going to be a little bit harder on you, but if they're making you feel that uncomfortable and they're that rude, that's an HR problem, and then it can be taken up with HR. It doesn't have to be discussed in the workplace. It can be taken directly to HR.
Yeah, we had that come up at my company, as we had. And I do think sometimes it's not intentional, right? Like sometimes they just look at you and they look at a person and they think they look a certain way. And so it would make sense for them to say he, him based on how the person looks,
Right.
But I do think there are people who do it intentionally to be hurtful. My personal take on it, I have a very deep-seated religious background. And it wasn't how I was raised. I found Jesus on my own as a teenager. I've been the only religious person in my family my whole life. But regardless of any religious background that I have, my take is most people, I've never seen their genitals. And so I'm just going to take their word for it. So I don't care what you look like on the outside, because people look different, right?
Right,
You
exactly.
can have a vagina and look very butch. You can have a penis and look very feminine and have long hair and nail polish and whatever. If you tell me I go by he, him, I'm going to call you that. I am not going to ask you to pull down your pants and prove anything. I'm not going to ask to see your license. I'm not going to say, well, I know that you weren't born that way, and I'm not going to. It's not my place to make a stance on who you are. And so to me, even as a Christian, it's so easy. It's hard to make the shift of changing a pronoun. Like I do have a friend that I knew as female for years before they came out as non-binary. And it has been an intentional flip to how I change how I refer to them. But emotionally, it's not difficult to want to show them respect, because I don't need to see what you've got going on under your clothes. I just want to love you and show respect to you. And so that's what's hard for me, is because I know it's predominantly people with this Christian background that don't want to be loving and respectful, because the Bible says, but the Bible never addresses trans people or non-binary people or anything like that. And so it's, as a Christian, I'm like, no, you don't have to think that way. You can be loving and respectful. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that comes up in the workplace. And I'm, I guess, privileged to not personally be in that position. So I want to just support the people who are. So.
Right. It's difficult on either side. It truly is. Coming from a Catholic family, for the most part, most of them are Catholic, very bigoted. So I had to hide myself for years. And it wasn't my husband that had an issue with it. It was, will my family accept me? And when I decided to move away from my family, because it is okay to cut toxic people out of your life, regardless of how they are related to you, it is okay to cut them out of your life. I decided that, I'm going to live the true me, and I don't give a shit who likes it, who cares, or who supports me, to be honest with you. All right, we're moving on to family, since we're talking about it already. Let's go ahead. Have you ever worked with family? Have you ever had a job where you worked at a company, or maybe your family owned a company and you worked at it, or it was a restaurant and you guys worked together? Have you ever worked with anybody that you lived with?
I worked with my mom. My mom, I don't want to say got me the job, because she didn't, because the first time I applied, I didn't even get an interview. But I did eventually get hired at the company where she was at. And gosh, I'm like, how much do I want to share? We were in different departments.
I feel that way all the time.
we were in different departments, and you know how it is when you're at work, your whole life is your kids, right? So you talk about your kids and what they're
Actually, I'll
going
be
through.
right back. I just need a minute.
Sure. Yeah. So you, as a parent, you talk with your coworkers about your kids and what they're going through and stuff. And I was going through a divorce, and my mom obviously knew that I was going through a divorce, but it wasn't public. It wasn't on social media. I hadn't moved out yet. It was a couple month process from when I decided that I wanted to move out. We tried cohabitating and me sleeping on the couch and like alternating and stuff. But I found out that my mom was talking about my divorce with her coworkers. And one of my friends told me, like, she came up to me and said, "Hey, do you trust so and so?" And I'm like, "Oh, she's a nice lady. She works with my mom. Like, sure, I trust her. Why?" And she said, "Well, I heard your mom talking about your divorce with her." And my friend shared with me some of the details that my mom had shared, which were very, very personal to me. And I was very upset. And I didn't want to yell at her. So I sent it through text. And I just said, "Mom, I heard that you were talking about my divorce with people at work. And this is my personal story. And I have not come out with this yet. And I'm trying to get a promotion right now. Please don't talk about my divorce with your coworkers." And she said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know anyone could hear me." "Yes, people can hear you. Please stop." So then a couple weeks later, I was in the bathroom getting ready to leave for the day, and I ran into another one of her coworkers. And she just said, "Oh, hey, how's everything been going?" And this was the Jesus lady in the department, right? Like the really, really on fire for Jesus, in your face about it, even to another Christian, very in your face. And "How's everything going?" And I just kept it real vague, and I'm like, "Oh, life's crazy, but day by day, right?" And she goes, "Yeah, because of your divorce, right?" And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
Yeah, well, yeah, I am going through a divorce. So I called my mom and I said, "Were you talking to another coworker about my divorce?" Because somebody, and I kept it vague, somebody just mentioned it to me in the bathroom. And she said, "Oh, was it so and so?" "No, it wasn't. It was somebody else. How many people are you telling about this?" So I literally got to a point that I stopped telling my mom anything personal about me, because I love her, but she cannot keep it to herself. And I know she wasn't trying to gossip. She wasn't trying to make me look bad. It's just, if you don't really have a lot going on other than you go to work and you've got your kids and your grandkids, that's just all you talk about. And so I just was like, I can't talk to you about these things. I'm sorry. And so I really have, and she doesn't work there anymore. But it really changed my relationship with her. And I really shut her out, and I don't share. There have been a few things since that have happened where I just don't discuss personal things with her anymore. It's like, if someone can't honor the work life, family life separation, then you have to make that separation yourself, sadly.
That is a big thing too, is keeping that separate, keeping your work life, especially if you work with somebody. So we're going to use a husband and wife example. Okay, so you guys own a business, and then you own this business, and you and your husband work together, and you're working every day together. How do you leave that at the office door? How do you move on and go home? You're riding home together, so you want to leave it at the office door. You don't want to be discussing it in the car on the way home, unless it is something that's truly affecting your financial situation. That is the only time I truly believe that a couple who owns a company together needs to discuss it at home. Is it going to affect what you're putting on the table and your bills getting paid? Those are the only two things that should truly be discussed anywhere else but the office. And those should be discussed at the office too. Those should be discussed in your financial meetings and accounting meetings, and trying to figure out where this business is going to go together. It's not bringing it home to the dinner table and spreading your blueprints out or spreading your financial situation out right before you set the table for dinner. That is going to be a totally bad conversation to be having at your dinner table. Imagine if you have kids and you've got this financial plan for your business sitting out on the table, and your significant other is putting the food on the table, and you're trying to discuss this with them, and the kids walk in. Do you stop discussing it? Are you going to have your kids? Because at that point, your kids are going to be in on the conversation, which they have no point in being on any conversation that has to do with work, finances, or how your household's going, unless it's them causing a problem within that atmosphere. I don't think that working together is a problem. I don't think that, owning a business with your partner should ever be a problem. I think it's more important on where do we leave work and when do we start our home life. I don't think that work and home life should ever be brought together. I ask my husband when he comes home how his day went. If he wants to discuss how his day went, or he could just tell me it went great, or, it wasn't that great of a day. And I'm okay with that. I'm not going to say, oh, but what happened between the conversation between you and so-and-so? I don't care. I'm not going to ask him, what did your boss have you do today? Because it's not that I don't truly care about those things. If those things need to be brought up, he's going to bring those things up. So we don't discuss work at homes. But maybe that's just me and my family. If you're truly discussing them at home, I don't know where to go from there, to be honest.
Well, I think it's tough because, like you said, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And if a couple goes into business together, it's probably something that they're passionate about. So it's like, how do you not talk about that outside of work? And so I almost think like, if your passion is what you're doing, like as a business together, maybe having some boundaries around that, like what's going on in our work life is not going to affect what's going on in the bedroom.
Yes.
Or what's going on at work, those stressors, we're not going to let that get into our lives with our kids. And like you said, dinner table conversation, like if it's just the two of you and you guys are like, man, today was so crazy, but we have a big thing tomorrow, let's talk about it. And you want to use that time to prepare for tomorrow, like fine, but then make sure that that's not becoming what your whole relationship is, because you could lose your relationship and why you fell in love with each other and the dating each other and being curious about each other. You can lose all of that getting too focused on your business. So if you're going to use dinner to talk about this tonight, we damn sure better make sure that we have a lunch break tomorrow or a date night this weekend or something where we are separating the work from the life, because sometimes there's deadlines and you've got to talk through stuff, but you've got to make sure that it doesn't interfere with your relationship with each other.
Then make sure you have a place in your home and that you can sit down that is separate from where you see your kids, where you lay your head at night, where you cook your dinner, and where you spend time with your spouse. Like those happy places should never be a place where you're discussing the business end of your relationship. Don't ever create an unhappy moment in a place where you have good memories. It's going to deter from those good memories, because then you're going to forget those good memories and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, we argued because, something got forgot at such and such place and I can't go pick it up, but he was supposed to pick it up. And you're having this argument, and now that sweet moment that you had 6 months ago in that same place is now replaced with this argument that you have. So maybe the shed, out on the side of, not your front porch, out on the side of your house. Go around the corner of your house and discuss it there. Make it to where it's not a place where you guys spend a lot of time. Make it somewhere, especially if it's something that's going to be a hard topic to discuss with each other and it's going to cause problems. Maybe it's a deadline that your spouse missed that they knew about and they just blew it off and it's affecting your job. You don't want to sit in your bed where you lay your head at night and you have sweet discussions and where you do your fun stuff at. You don't want to have that discussion with them there. because then every time you go to do that fun stuff, you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this 6 months ago. And you're still thinking about it, because I know I'm a woman. I don't forget shit when it comes to that. So when you have made me mad and you have caused my mental health to be altered, I'm going to remember it. And it's going to affect that aspect of my life. If you've caused a problem, I'm going to remember it. That's why I say, I have a huge heart. Until you prove to me that you're a bad person, I'm going to think you're amazing. So once you make that bad impression on me, I'm sorry. We're done. And I feel that way about my husband sometimes too. I'll be completely honest with you. There are some times that he does stuff and I'm like, did you even think about what you said? Did you even think about what you did? What was there any thought in your head about the words that were coming out of your mouth?
Right.
Because, I'm famous for it too. And I'm sure he thinks that of me all the time. We word vomit when we're upset and we are stressed and we have this one track mind on how things need to be done. We word vomit and we hurt each other's feelings. So owning a business with your spouse is amazing because you guys get to do amazing things together and you get to spend so much time together. I live by, if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I love my husband, but I will never work with him. Never. We spend so much time together at home and out in public that I don't think I could ever truly have a job with him. So those of you that are out here in this universe and own a business with your spouse, I truly appreciate what you do. I truly respect what you do. But leave it at the door of the job. When you turn that lock to leave it there. It's best to leave it there.
Well, we are running short on time, and there is one more topic that I would love to talk about. And that is religion and politics together. So should politics have a place in the church? What do you think, Mia?
I don't think politics has a place yes, voice your political opinions. Yes, let everybody around you know how you feel. Don't take to heart that they don't like it. Don't take to heart that they don't agree with you. And listen to the opposing opinions. That's my thought. But I don't think politics has any other place in this world besides your head. Because those are your thoughts, your feelings, your moral beliefs. And yes, I truly believe that politics holds heavy on moral beliefs. So by putting your opinion out there and letting everybody know how you feel, and it's basically allowing them to alter your way of thinking by allowing that negativity to come into your life. Because if you feel so strongly about something, and religion is so hard for me to discuss because I've walked away from the church. I've been judged and ridiculed by the Christian community in my area so hard because of choices that I've made in life and paths that I've chosen to make myself happy. And I don't really like to talk about Christianity anymore, to be honest with you.
No, I get that. Well, and what's happened is that politics and the American church have gotten married in a sense. That there are lots and lots of churches that preach politics, and they have a certain couple of issues that they will talk about, and they will ignore all of these other issues. And so we have one party that has kind of like deemed themselves the holy party, the party that loves God. But they're just focusing on these couple of issues that are not even blatantly written in scripture. It's just an interpretation of this verse means this, therefore you should believe this about
And that's
this.
exactly, honestly, Ashley, that's exactly what the Bible is. It is, because everybody has their own thoughts, feelings, and views. Every person is going to read that Bible and interpret it differently. Every person
Right.
is going to read that Bible and preach it differently. Every person is going to read a book and say, this is how it truly happened. And then when the next person goes to read that same book, using the Bible as example, and this is for any religion, this is not just Christianity. It's interpreted, and then they're taking these political views and they're saying, oh, well, I've interpreted this book this way and it aligns with this political view. Or the next person's going to say, okay, but I've read the book, and it doesn't align with it. And it's not necessarily from a different church. It could be from the same church. Politics and government are one thing, but when you bring the church into it, does the government allow the church to rule them? Does the government allow the church to, I mean, truly, and we're not talking about personal opinions or anything like that here. How often do we hear that the church has no place in the government? So why the hell should we allow the government to have any place in our religious community? I'm not religious. I'm not saying that it's my religious community, but I'm just saying in general, because I see both sides. Yes.
Yeah. So what's happening is, like, what you just described about like reading the Bible and interpreting it is what should be taking place.
Right.
It's actually, I've taken a lot of Bible classes. I studied it in college, and it's called exegesis. And that means reading scripture and figuring out what the point is, what was written in that context and what it meant and how that applies today. And that's not what people are doing. People they don't really understand what the Bible says or what it meant when it was written. They're being told this scripture means this, therefore we believe this. So there's not really room to interpret for yourself or think about what does this mean, or even question, could this mean something else? Or could it be not talking about this whatsoever? They're told what to believe.
Right.
And
not only that,
you have to believe about this issue. Every other issue doesn't matter. This was me in college. I remember when George W. Bush ran against John Kerry, and I showed up at Bible study on Tuesday night, and they were looking at election results. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see, did George W. Bush win? And the Bible study leader said, we're not talking about like who's winning because there's different opinions. And I was like, how are there different opinions? How could anyone vote for anything other than Bush because of abortion? And what else could even matter? Like, that was my mindset. And so there is a lot of the church telling people this is the only thing that matters, or these are the only things that matter. Nothing else matters. Manipulating people for votes so that they can win elections. And it really is manipulation and not allowing people to think for themselves. And I've very much, I've voted Democrat, Republican, and Independent because I think for myself, and I'm not going to have anybody tell me what to think or what to believe. I'm going to think for myself. And so that's why I think politics should not be in the church. We have to teach people how to think for themselves. And that's how we grow as humans.
Right. And you did mention that, reading from a book, the Bible, how many different versions do we have, and which version are they interpreting at that point? So we have to look at that too. Guys, this has been an absolutely amazing episode. I am so glad that we have had the opportunity to be able to bring these issues alight and discuss our opinions. I'm glad that we do see the chat. We do see you guys' voices out there. I'm sorry that we didn't get to touch on any of those today, but don't forget to come back to us next week at 9:30 on Sundays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. See you guys next week. Thank you again, Ashley, for all your opinions. And next Sunday.
Bye, guys.